channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Messy Jessie and you're watching. This is going to be
It's gonna be a mess of a video.
even more so than normal on this channel.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tired.
Basically, Epic Reads came out with a list acknowledging different bookish creators in the bookish community, and the list was very...
How should I put this? It was white.
It was very excluding of the BIPOC presence within the book community, BIPOC bookish centric creators. It was white, it was Wonder Bread, it was walking in a winter wonderland, it was a carton of eggs. It just was a very white list. So if you've been following me on my Twitter or on my Instagram, you'll know that my family is going through a lot right now. And I've really appreciated all of your prayers and just the love and kindness that you have shown my family. My abuela really needs that right now, so thank you. Long story short, I have not been practicing self-care. I have not been taking care of myself, even more so than normal. And so since I wanted to have a discussion about the Epic Reads list, as well as to talk about some of the things that Black creators have to deal with that non-Black creators do not have to deal with. Since I was going to have this discussion, I really wanted to kind of do this discussion while I was not only doing my skincare routine, but also doing a face mask, because I have not been doing much of either. And so I was like, okay, if I'm going to talk about this topic, I need to be practicing self-care while I do it. So that is what this video is going to be. My skincare routine is super chill because I'm
Poor.
So basically I start off with my Palmer's Skin Therapy Cleansing Face Oil. You can get this at any drugstore. I think it's like $8 and a little goes a long way. Double cleansing is really good for anybody who has oily skin or acne prone skin, of which I tend to struggle with both. So just rubbing the oil in. Okay, so basically Epic Reads comes out with this list acknowledging creators that are not people of color. In June, in May, and even after that, we had such heavy, deep conversations about how white publishing is and how excluding the book community is of BIPOC contributions, especially Black contributions. And for those of you watching this, I don't know if you guys like stay up to date on Bookstagram or on Book Twitter, but specifically on Bookstagram, every single publisher, right? Like every publisher who publishes books damn near was coming out with lists of books by Black authors and talking about how important it is to uplift Black creators and putting Black Lives Matter in their bios and posting it on their feed and doing all of this work saying, okay, we are acknowledging Black Lives Matter. We are acknowledging how white publishing and how white our own reading list, the creators that we work with, like we're acknowledging all of that. We're gonna do better. There was this huge push to do that. And it was so beautiful to see this push happening. Black authors had their books selling out. Books that have been out for print for months, if not years, were sent back for multiple additional printings, and then those printings sold out. New York Times bestselling list was just full of Black authors. It was beautiful, and you kind of felt like, okay, this is a turning point. And yes, you know, as a Black creator, you know damn well that it's not the end of the struggle, right? But I think so many Black creators just were breathing sighs of relief because we were like, oh, these publishers are committed to doing better. And you could see that commitment. They were doing it publicly in a way that those commitments weren't happening before. These people were coming out and making these statements about how inclusive they were going to be moving forward and how they learned and how they wanted to be on the right side of justice, etc. And you just felt like things were obviously not going to be perfect, but that certain mistakes were not going to be made moving forward. You had the understanding that these companies came out and said, hey, we are going to do better and we're going to do right by Black communities. And, we believed them. And then Epic Reads comes out with this list, right? Fast forward, it's been 6 months. Epic Reads comes out with this list. And the thing about the list that bothers me is no one on the staff was like, hey, this list looks hella white. no one on the staff was like, maybe something's not right here. It had to take multiple readers commenting on the list and being like, where's the BIPOC presence on this list?
What? Like, what?
It had to be pointed out by so many people before Epic Reads was like, oh, whoops, my bad. And I'm not the kind of person who typically likes to reject apologies. I typically, like, I want the apology to be a good one, right? That actually takes accountability, yes. But for the most part, I'm like, yeah, okay, I typically believe people if they apologize. I do. Maybe that's naive of me, I don't know. But usually if someone apologizes, I'm like, okay, I see you, I hear you. And I'm gonna pull out my my ratchet phone.
Please don't make fun of me.
So Epic Reads comes out and says, we always want to ensure that we're reflecting the vast range of readers who make up the YA community. I don't want to nitpick, I really don't. But what doesn't make sense is you say we always want to do this. We always want to make sure that we're uplifting not just white voices. And yet you didn't do that when you had the chance to. And so it doesn't really make sense to say, oh, we always want to be BIPOC inclusive while actively excluding BIPOC creators when you have the ability to uplift them. It just doesn't make sense. And I absolutely loved this comment on Twitter. Someone responded, why does it always have to be pointed out? Why can't companies just do better without having to be dragged in order to do it? It's exhausting. I just don't understand how this could happen even after everything, all of the conversations that were taking place, conversations that Epic Reads was a part of. I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense. Okay, I'm gonna go get my toner. Okay, so I washed off the oil, the cleansing oil, with my hydrating facial cleanser by CeraVe. I've been using this cleanser for years. It's amazing. It's a drugstore cleanser, and I will not put anything else on my face. And the only thing I use to tone my face is this aloe vera gel. You don't have to get like this Lily of the Desert brand, but I use pure aloe vera on my face to tone it. I usually have an aloe vera plant, but someone killed it.
Not gonna point any fingers though.
Okay, so I'm gonna take my, oh yeah, I called you out.
Don't leave me, I love you.
Don't leave me, lay down. I love you. Good girl, good girl. And one of my really good friends, Mika, has some amazing commentary on this list by Epic Reads. And I just really loved the things that she had to say. So I wanted to do a video kind of reacting to the thread of tweets that she released, partially inspired by the situation with Epic Reads, because I think more people need to see these tweets and engage with what she's saying, because it just was absolutely funking brilliant. Is that my car?
Honestly, I don't know why anybody would break into my car. It is a piece of garbage.
All right, I'm gonna let that toner dry on my face. So while my face is drying from the toner, I'm going to pull up this thread that Mika launched. So basically the thread is called Things Black/BIPOC Creators Have to Deal With That White Creators Will Never Have to Worry About a Thread. The first tweet says, wondering if people will actually watch or consume our content since we don't traditionally look like everyone else. I know I can only speak for myself when I say that this was and is something that it's constantly in the back of my mind. The face mask I'm gonna be doing is this Indian healing clay. It is calcium bentonite clay. I've been using this on my face for years. And basically what I do is I just take this powder and I put it in a bowl, and I add some raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. Mix it with something that is not metal. I used a chopstick to mix this, and this is what the mixture looks like. And now I'm gonna put it on my face. A part of the reason why it's harder to grow as a BIPOC creator is simply for the aesthetic reason. People are used to listening to white faces. Even as BIPOC individuals, we grew up, most of us grew up being forced to empathize and see ourselves through a white lens. And so a lot of times, even for BIPOC people, it can be hard to overcome the unconscious expectation that the creators that we should be watching and looking up to not look like us. So when it comes to white audiences, looking for creators to watch, they tend to gravitate a lot of times to white creators on unconscious and implicit levels, and it just makes it harder to be visible as a BIPOC creator. She also said, knowing that if we say one wrong thing or make one mistake, we'd be immediately crucified, canceled, and all the in-between, as well as having to face major consequences. This is so extremely true. Every single person should be held accountable for their actions. Absolutely. Nobody is above reproach or criticism, and being criticized is often how we grow, right? There's nothing inherently bad about being critiqued. It is so important to talk about how when mistakes are made by BIPOC creators, and I'm just gonna say it specifically Black creators, people are very quick to be unforgiving of those mistakes, intolerant. The darker skinned the person is, the more quickly people are to turn on them. There's also a terrible trend of people assuming the worst automatically of Black creators, things that they don't assume of white and other creators of color. For some reason, when it's a Black creator, people feel way more comfortable making a lot of malicious assumptions about you and then holding you accountable for their own preconceived notions and assumptions and punishing you for that. And the reason why this happens is because Black creators are just held to a higher standard, a standard that nobody else is held to, including other people of color. For some reason, when it's a Black creator, people expect you to be perfect. You cannot make any mistakes. There just simply is absolutely no room for you to be anything but perfect. And that standard, that the pressure to be completely woke and completely perfect at all points in time that so many Black creators feel is devastating. It is devastating because it doesn't exist for anybody else. And when you call it out and when you say, hey, you are holding me to a standard that you don't even hold other people of color to, you're being so much harder on Black creators than you are on other creators of color. When you call that out, people don't listen to you and they just simply just won't believe you. That's like a big issue. People just simply not believing the things that Black creators say. They really only want our opinions on anti-Black racism. Black creators are not allowed to have any sort of nuance, and it is heartbreaking. And that's a big part of the reason why when you look at the rates of suicide attempts and mental health issues that exist in the Black community among activists, you'll see that those rates are much higher for Black activists and Black people who engage in social justice work. And a big part of that is because of the disproportionate amount of pressure that is constantly being laid on the shoulders of Black people. This pressure to be perfect, to know everything, to never mess up, and if you mess up, everybody is going to cancel you. Everybody is going to assume the worst about you. They're not going to listen to what you have to say. I have seen this happen to so many Black creators. I have seen Black creators make mistakes. And yes, it's important to call out those mistakes, correct them when you see it, absolutely. But then I've also seen other people of color and white creators make that same exact mistake at the same exact time as the Black creator and not at all get the same amount of vitriol and correction. You just don't see it. It just doesn't happen. I'm so tired of seeing Black creators be crucified for making the same kinds of mistakes or for having the same kinds of knowledge gaps that other creators of color or white creators have. I'm just so tired of it. Like, I can't even just finish that sentence because it's just so frustrating and it's so unfair. And it's also deeply dehumanizing. And on the other hand, it somewhat stems from putting Black creators on a pedestal by assuming that because Black people are so deeply oppressed, that Black people must be perfect, like we must be some sort of social martyr. And so whenever we inevitably mess up, make a mistake, do something that's not okay, people are even harder on us than they would be on other creators of color, and definitely harder than they would be on white creators, because they're like, you're Black, you should know better. Everybody should be held to the same standard. You cannot have higher, more aggressive, more rigorous standards for darker skinned Black creators. I cannot explain all of the reasons why that is problematic. It's just never good to put anybody on a pedestal. It's not good for the creator, and it's not good for people who are supporting that creator. It's good for nobody. It makes me think so much about that quote from Scandal where Olivia Pope's father is talking to her and he says, you have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have. And I loved that this quote made it into the TV show because I cannot express how many times I heard that from Black people growing up, how many times I've heard Black parents say that to their kids growing up. And so it was really cool to see that like make it into the mainstream. And it also works in the other direction. It's the same thing with Black creators online. You not only have to be twice as good in the sense of your content has to be fire. You not only have to work 3 times as hard, twice, 3 times, 2, 3, 4 times as hard, especially if you are disabled, if you are a dark-skinned Black person, if you are fat. If you have any other marginalizations on top of being Black, the harder it is for you to get recognition next to white and creators of color. That's a whole other thing. But on top of that, not only does your content have to be perfection, you yourself also have to be perfection. And that standard is not sustainable. It is so unhealthy, it is dehumanizing, it is unfair. And I've seen so many Black creators pushed out of the bookish community, not just because they were so tired of making great content and not getting the views and support, but because they were tired of always having to be perfect. They were tired of knowing that cancel culture never hurts white creators the same way that it hurts them, and knowing that people will be so quick to turn on them and crucify them at a moment's notice whenever it is convenient for them. Like, I've seen it happen so many times, and it's racist.
It's mad racist.
I hate when it gets it's so tight. Feeling as if companies don't want to work with us because we're not seen as marketable in comparison to our fair skinned counterparts. Yo, do y'all remember when, I think it was Book Outlet, but this book selling company, this online bookstore said that the reason they wanted to work with more Black creators, but they haven't been because they want family-friendly creators. Basically, we're implying that the content that Black bookish creators make isn't family-friendly, and that touches on a very, very long history of just assuming that just Black people aren't family-friendly. And it was really funny because I remember Kayla from Books and Lala commented, and she was like, I swear in almost all of my videos and you work with me. What are you talking about? But that's exactly what she's talking about. What Mika's talking about is the standard that Black creators are held to
is insane.
White creators can sit and swear and still be able to get sponsorships. But for a Black creator, better not swear, better be family friendly. That doesn't even begin to mention colorism and how darker skinned Black creators just don't get the same sponsorships and marketing opportunities as darker skinned Black creators. Thankfully, I'm finally starting to see some darker skinned Black bookish creators get some marketing and some sponsorships, but when I started on BookTube, that definitely wasn't happening. And I know I've said it before and I will say it again, but I firmly believe that a part of why my channel has grown to the level that it has, why I've been able to get the sponsorships that I have gotten, is definitely influenced by my skin tone, by the fact that I am not dark skinned, by the fact that I speak the way that I do, by the fact that I'm thin, and all of the different privileges that I inhabit within the Black community. Not being nominated for certain awards.
Looking at you, Epic Reads.
Because we know our hard work usually goes unappreciated by big companies and majority of whatever community we're a part of. I have nothing to add to that because she said it all. Knowing the only time we'll probably have a massive spike in growth is when a civil rights movement that belongs to a certain ethnic group gains attention. Look, I remember being in a private chat with some Black bookish creators, and we were talking about how so many of us Black creators, the only reason a lot of us hit 10K, 20K, 30K, etc., was because of the protests this summer and the push to support and finally give Black creators their due. I want to make it perfectly clear that all of those subscribers and the views and all of that was something that we should have had long ago. I remember talking with a few Black bookish creators and being like, I don't even want to celebrate hitting the milestones that I've hit because I know that these people are only here, they only even found out about my channel because of George Floyd's murder. And that bothers me. It bothers me that my content, something that I'm so proud of, that I work so hard of, only gets big spikes in recognition when somebody who looks like me is killed. How do you think that makes us feel as Black creators? And that doesn't just go for Black creators, that goes for any creators of color. But specifically, a lot of Black creators saw growth specifically because of the protests of anti-Blackness and police brutality and police violence that was happening this summer. And it's frustrating because like you want to celebrate hitting this milestone, but a big part of you also doesn't because My Twitter is usually a place I want people to go when they feel like they need an escape from harsh realities of the world, but sometimes even your girl has had enough. I feel this a lot. I just want to make it clear before I say this that I'm not judging anybody for this. I'm not saying that there's anything problematic or wrong with it, but it bothers me, like it's a small part of me, it bothers me when people are like, oh, I need a really great diverse booktuber, like, oh, I need a really great booktuber who is good at having conversations about social wellness and social justice, and people tag me or recommend me. And it feels weird, like I'm like, oh my God, like that's so sweet that you think I know what I'm talking about, because I don't. I just would really love to also be acknowledged for like, hey, Jessie makes great vlogs. I really love my vlogs. I really do. I'm so proud of them. And I would love to be known for my vlogs. I would love to be known for the way that I wrap up books, like my book reviews. I really love the way that I talk about books. It's just different things. But the number one thing that I get noticed for, the number one thing I get recommended for is my conversations about race or my conversations about gender. And it's like, those are very small parts of my identity. My channel is about books. And it would just be really cool if I was recognized more for the content that I make surrounding books. So I relate to this, you know, and again, I'm not saying it's problematic to recommend me for those things or to like my channel for those reasons. It's just, I don't want that to be the only reason that you're here, is because you like to, you learn when I talk about race. I'm not an educator. I've said that ever since I've been on this platform. I'm not an educator. I'm not an activist. I just have a big mouth. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I can barely get out of bed in the morning, okay?
I would like my channel to be a place where people go because they're entertained, because they like my content, not because they think I'm a source of education, because that's not why I'm here. The point of this thread is to show people how it's not easy being a Black/BIPOC creator, and how hard we actually have to work in order to be shown the same respect as our fairer skinned counterparts. When is that gonna change? Honestly, this whole thread was amazing, and it gave me a lot of feels, so I really wanted to talk about it, and I'm so grateful to Mika for posting this thread. For my BIPOC folk who are watching this, whether you're a creator or not, I just want you to know it's not in your head, right? A lot of times I think, oh, this stuff is all in my head. I'm imagining it. Like when I see people piling on Black creators or creators of color, and I hear that voice in my head being like, this is influenced by anti-Blackness. And the devil on my shoulder is going, no, you're playing the race card. You are victimizing yourself. Not everything is anti-Blackness. You're blowing it out of proportion, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to say, like, when you hear that voice, especially as a Black person, don't listen to it. I'm saying this to myself too. I still struggle with acknowledging how anti-Blackness is a factor, acknowledging the role that anti-Blackness plays for me on my platform, the role that it plays for other Black creators. Sometimes even I'm in denial about it, because it can be so hard to look at. I want to say to my BIPOC content creators and my BIPOC folk that are watching this, just know that you are valid and you are freaking special, and you are worth so much more than what you offer white people in terms of education. That's not why you exist. And you have to be aware that when you make mistakes, those mistakes are going to have much more brutal repercussions for you than they will have for anybody else. And that is a simple, brutal fact of your life. But just know that that's not on you. It doesn't mean that you are defective. I know it's easier said than done, but try not to internalize it. You are beautiful and special and valid, and nobody can take that away from you. And I'm not going to give a message for my white viewers, because I didn't make this video to be an educational experience for my white viewers. If you did learn something, cool, that's great. But I made this video because I wanted to talk to other BIPOC creators and just say like, yo, I see you, I feel you, I hear you, you're valid. It's not in your head. Like, trust yourself. Trust yourself. Don't doubt yourself. The world is gonna do that enough for you. Don't do it to yourself. Practice self-care, put on a face mask, watch a funny movie, read a funny book, take care of yourself. The world is not going to promote you to do that. So you find time to show yourself love. Unfortunately, I think this topic is always going to be relevant, and I don't want to make it kind of seem like this is about epic reads and the white award list, because it's actually not. Like, yes, that was the catalyst for this whole conversation, But it's not just about them. It's about this pattern of behavior, this cyclical pattern of BIPOC creators having to fight and claw their way just to stand by a white creator's side. And if that creator is Black, if that creator is dark-skinned, if that creator is fat or disabled, if they don't live in the United States, it's just that much harder. I don't think I was very articulate in this video, but whatever, I'm having a hard time stringing a sentence together. I just want to end this video by saying thank you so much for all of the love and support that you've shown my family. We really need it. It's really appreciated, and honestly, it has helped me get through this time. I don't want to say get through because I'm not through it yet, but I just really appreciate it. I'm gonna sign off. I'm going to make some dinner and I'll talk to y'all later. It's so hard to try and smile with this on my face. If you made it this far in the video, comment down below with the fist emoji. Thank you so much for watching another Bow Ties and Books production. All my social media links are in the description box below. Stay safe, wear your mask. I'll see you in my next video.